Hello, everybody. It's episode 215 of the Warhammer podcast called Look Out Sir. My name's Dan, and this is Phil. How you doing, mate? You well?
I am good. I am painting up a storm.
Are you?
Not as we speak, but in general.
Hang on a second here. A storm, Phil, a storm? What is raging in the heart of this storm of yours?
A necromunda gang.
Just choking on air there, my goodness. A necromunda gang, Phil? What necromunda gang?
I know. Chaos Helots, but I'm using old Forge World Renegade Militia. That is currently my project for this week in anticipation of a game I'm playing on Saturday.
Ooh. Of course you're doing Chaos Helots, Phil, because, you know, you had to be the hipster, didn't you? Ooh, I'm running the obscure thing.
I had to be a Forge World snob. You are right.
You couldn't just have been like House Escher, like all the other basic people.
Well, here's the thing. Don't call out Richard because he's House Escher. He'd be highly offended. But it was more a matter of convenience because before the first game was on, I didn't have my lovely new shed, so I basically had to take the warband that was already pre-built that I did because it was like my old I want to say around 8th edition version of Kill Team. I created it, so it was around then. So yeah, it was mostly pre-made, and then I kind of kit bashed a few extra minis. I redid the main character, who was the old. So there was the Renegade Militia Command Squad. There was the Sergeant who had basically a chainsword for a hand, but that was so fragile it broke off, and I wanted to repose it anyway. So I did a sort of. I did basically the Primarisifying of it. I basically made a new one with some extra body parts, and then I kept a few little bits of him. I think it was mostly just some of like the arms. I think I kept, but then with a new chainsword. So yeah, I sort of made a new version of him, which is quite cool.
Well, fabulous stuff, my friend. All this talk of chaos has me concerned, really. We probably need to talk about something completely different in order to cleanse the palate. Such as what, Phil?
Speaking of cleansing the chaos, it is Codex Grey Knights.
Fancy. So yeah, we're going to have a chat about that, see what we think of it. You know, seems quite good, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe you could just end it there. It's all right. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Job done. You can turn off the podcast. Yeah. Stop your walk. No commute needed to work today. You can all go home, have a day off. It's good.
There you go. We also have a 5-star review as well, and that has come via Apple Podcasts of Great Britain, via a lovely chap called the GreatSage, Equal of Heaven, which is a beautiful title for oneself. They've given us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts of Great Britain. You can also leave us 5-star reviews, your good self, on Apple Podcasts of whatever country you happen to reside in, but you can also do so on Audible. You can leave comments on Spotify, and you can also head over to our Facebook page as well. Not that we actively use that thing anymore, but it's good to get 5-star reviews all the same, because they do help us out massively. Please also consider liking and subscribing. Again, it's, you know, really important with small kind of niche pieces of content like this that people who genuinely do enjoy and listen to the show on the regular show their support by, you know, liking and if at all possible subscribing. Comments are good as well, obviously, which is lovely, but again, maybe not entirely necessary, or maybe it is. Give it a try. And then lastly, obviously, we have amazing patrons, and if you'd like to be amongst them, we encourage you to do so, but don't expect it. The fact that you're listening is good enough, and that's great. And then, yeah, merchandise. All the links are down in the description. That is the only bit of, you know, salesmanship that I will chuck your way during the entirety of this episode, which is do a quick little, hey, we've got a few things going on, check them out. But that is it. But, yeah, there you go. Anything we need to add, Phil, or should we just get on with the show?
Well, I was going to say, rather than calling out the person that we're doing the 5-star review of, we should leave it as anticipation to force everyone to listen to the end, not knowing if their one is being read out. Because if someone's left a review and then, oh, it's not me this week, I'm going to switch it off. Now they know, but it could be a little juicy treat at the end. It could be you.
It could be you, but Fair enough. I mean, it's something to take into consideration, I suppose. Although I'd hate to kind of obfuscate it or create a kind of annoying process. But
clickbait people into listening.
Yeah, exactly. No, that just seems utterly pointless. So no, we won't do that. I think we'll.
Fair.
But I like the creative thinking. I like the advice, but I'm going to choose to ignore it and get on with the show.
Fine.
Yeah.
You override me.
Absolutely.
With your executive decision.
Well, indeed. I like the fact that in this context, in this moment, you're making it seem like I'm the one that wields that power. It's all you, Phil.
Oh, Dan, don't beat me, Dan. Oh, no, don't beat me, please, sir.
Well, you'll get what's coming to you. Transitional noise. All right, we're going to be talking about Codex Grey Knights, not Codex Supplement Grey Knights, which I kind of auto-assume it would be because Space Marines, but no, it's its own thing, isn't it, Phil?
Exactly. These are the specialist of special Space Marines. So special, they get a Codex.
So special indeed that they get a Codex. Aren't they sexy boys? I hear, Phil, that everyone's annoyed because what was it called now? The Crux Terminatus or whatever that thing was that was in a chest with a key and a lock that only the Grand Master or Supreme Grand Master could unlock. Basically just has like a bit of paper in it that essentially says, if the Emperor tries to get back alive, make him dead. Cheers. That's essentially the extent of that.
Over the Terminus Decree, that was it, yes. But what I quite liked about it was even if I come back alive, you must force me to sit on my chair once more. Now,
again, right, so the Knights of Titan, the Grey Knights, they're like Malcador's boys, right? Like they were kind of manufactured, done in alignment with Malcador, I believe. I feel like
that sounds about right, yeah.
So, like, is this potentially one of his tricky things where he's just kind of been massively misinterpreted as he threw around a few little hand gestures and someone was like, keep the Emperor dead, is it? No, not that. Oh, well, damn it now. Off it goes.
Maybe. Here's, I was going to make some reference to something that happened where he's using the Emperor's hand to, sign the will. He's like, yes, he really did say this. Look, I've moved his hand. He has technically written on this piece of paper, signed the Emperor.
Well, absolutely. I think that's the mad thing about it, though, isn't it? Because I suppose at what point did the Emperor apparently, although I suppose he did have prescience, didn't he? He had omniscience or whatever it was. He had the divine third eyesight or whatever it is. So I guess he just knew, didn't he? He knew it was coming, so he just wrote it down, I suppose.
Yeah, true. Or maybe he, used Morse code or Braille printout from his throne. Maybe there's a printer attached to it, so it is a post-Golden Throne decree rather than a one. But it would make more sense that he would just know, right? If we're not being silly about it, or he would know up front, and then he pre-wrote it basically.
There we go. Would have been terribly bad news if he got it wrong, I suppose. It's like, hey, look, I've been successful. I killed Horus, everybody. Isn't it great? Get on that seat, you. No. Oh no. What else was I going to say? Oh, yeah, and apparently the other thing that was doing the rounds was the fact that as a result of, needing to do that to the Emperor, they've been essentially told by the Emperor not just to kill him or to rather put him on the throne again. They were also told to kill all the custodians while they're doing it, or at least try to, because obviously they wouldn't be thrilled. So
he doesn't actually say that. It just says, because I've got the page open, one that would likely have to cut a path through the ranks of the custodian guard and many others to see its duty done. So he doesn't explicitly say kill the custodians, but it's like the obvious thing is, well, you will have to get past them to either ensure that he stays on the throne or to put him back on the throne, depending on if he got resurrected or not. So, yeah, it sort of feels like they wouldn't really have much of a chance. It's like a bit of a uphill challenge, I think, to take on all of the Imperium. I guess maybe an elite strike force with surprise. They're all psychers, but then Custodies have Sisters of Silence, so it's make it a bit difficult, I think, for them.
Yeah, I mean, unless they're using some kind of mad, sigil-like, crazy stuff that makes them go all super powered and bonkers, which, you know, it's entirely possible.
Or maybe they somehow can, maybe they can do some web warp thing to get to the throne room, bypassing everyone, maybe.
Absolutely. Or they've just got pockets filled with sand. In your eyes.
Well, that is why you should wear your helmets if you're a sergeant or a captain. Specifically to stop against the sand.
Exactly. Pocket sand is a deadly tactic. But yeah, anyway.
What's that a reference to? I'm obviously aware of it, but I cannot live me remember what it's from.
Oh, it's from King of the Hill. A character called Dale uses it as his default attack. It goes, pocket sand! And then Boomhauer, or whatever his name is, goes, God, dang nabbit, or whatever it is at the same time. But then turns out it's a beautiful singing voice. I haven't watched New King of the Hill yet, Phil. Have you? It's on Disney Plus, I'm told.
No, I haven't watched it since it very first came out.
Oh, I loved it back in the day. If I could be bothered, I would subscribe to Disney Plus and watch it. But seemingly I can't yet, so we'll work up to it. But we'll build up to it. But anyway, yeah, Codex Grey Knights. Interesting tome. Feels a little thin, I would say. Not, you know, a mighty tome by Games Workshop Codex standards, but, you know, perfectly serviceable.
Well, it's sort of
in its size.
I would say it's just like an average size. I think when it comes to Space Marines, you're used to a big chunky codex, right? So that's why it looks a bit thin. It's got some great artwork on the inside, got some nice banner designs illustrated, got some nice shield designs, which is great. It got some nice new artwork. And then, as I was saying to you just before we started recording, every single photo pretty much has front and centre the new Dread Knights.
Yes, they are definitely going hard on the new Grandmaster Dread Knight.
Don't look at these old minis, everyone, that are very small. Don't look at them. Look at the big new Dread Knight, everyone.
Yes, absolutely. Buy 10 of them. Tell your friends. I do love, though, on it's like the third or fourth page in, they've got the classic 5th edition Grey Knight cover art. My goodness, that is a beautiful thing to behold. Ooh. I don't know whether that's a nostalgia thing or not, but that is, they got that cover very right. I feel like the sort of, you know, bright shiny Terminators amongst the kind of chaotic soup of a cornate spawning Madland. It's a really beautiful thing to bestow.
No, it is stunning. I think there is something to be said about old artwork that I would assume was actually painted physically as a medium, quite often like oil on canvas or on something to that degree. They just look phenomenal, and quite often the detail of them is fantastic, and the backgrounds are not necessarily sharp and crisp, but they're still full of detail for you to look at, whereas I feel like quite often, a lot of the time, not all the new artwork, because actually one on page 10 is similarly equally detailed and lovely, but sometimes it feels like the main character's lovely and detailed with the digital artwork, but then all the background stuff is just very phoned in and not really finished. But because it's a background element, they kind of get away with it. And I feel like a lot of the digital stuff does have that slight rushed vibe to them in comparison to the older stuff where it was like, no, you've been commissioned to do this and you're going to take your time with it.
Yeah, they seem to use a lot of like Photoshop textures and things, which sort of adds a lot of weirdness to it. But yeah, there was a beautiful double page spread on page 31, 32 of the large Greater Demon of Khorne battling with one of the, master type, Terminator armored, Grey Knights on the kind of right panel, and then a bunch of smiting and things going on the left, and that's very beautiful as well. So there's some great artwork in there for sure. The Grey Knights have been blessed with some pretty pictures over the span of their existence, which is cool to see. Which of course brings us to the new front cover, which is weird really, because there used to be a character, and I want to say his name was like Grandmaster Stern or something like that. Do you remember the old Grey Knight heroes from back in the day?
Look it up. Not off the top of my head, no.
Oh, Grey Knight Terminator characters. What we got here? Come on, images. Help me. Help me, images. Help me. So there was obviously always no, that's not his name. What was the name of the Grandmaster guy that is like still the name character?
Drago.
Yes, that's right. So
Khal
Drago. Yeah, so he was one of them, but then there was another geezer that used to have a name. I feel like it might have been Stern. Oh my god, literally, I've got an image of the character in front of me now, but no one seems to remember that he used to have a name. The internet has forgotten, Phil. The internet has forgotten, and so have I. This is a terrible piece of, content for our listeners. They're all just going to be like, I know the name, why don't you remember? You know what I'm going to do, Phil? Hang on 2 seconds. 2 seconds. I'll be right back. Hang on.
All right.
I'm just... Hang on. Da, 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 da. Oh no, there's stuff in the way of it. Hang on. Where are you? There you are. This will serve me well. Here we go. Sorry, everyone. I have returned. I'll probably edit that into a nice transition or leave it there for comedic effect. What's your vote on that, Phil?
It depends if you've got the answer or not.
Well, I have in my hand here the 8th edition Grey Knight Codex, because I was fairly confident. Here he is! Brother Captain Stern!
Oh. Ding, 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 you win.
I remembered the name properly. God, that's even more irritating for the listeners, because I just got it right the whole time. They're going, yeah, Stern, move on. Oh, Lord, I'm so sorry, listeners. I'm so sorry. Anyway, Brother Captain Stern looks like that character, but you can't buy Brother Captain Stern anymore. But evidently they wanted to honour him with cover art, because there he is on the cover, Brother Captain Stern, or a guy that looks awfully similar to him. But overall, not a great image in kind of the ongoing tradition of modern 40k covers. The demons are quite sort of underwhelming. The little tentacles are kind of fun, but kind of mad, because they're just like little...
Oh, from the
bits.
pink horror, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite... I mean, it's fine, it's competent, but it's not extraordinary. It doesn't, stack up to other images within the book. So, there, standard Codex cover fare for the modern 10th edition game, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. There's elements to it that I like. The pink horror is quite cool. It's a very sort of high contrast, grim, dark image in a way that isn't great, I guess. It's just...
Look at that 8th edition cover there. That 8th edition cover. Your Grey Knight chilling in the rain, nobly grasping his spear. Even that's kind of cool by comparison. These two side by side... no. But
I think there's...
It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's okay, but it's not great. It's not bad, I would say. It's a bit too much light and shadow for my liking, but you could say it's because he's actually firing his bolter and he's being correctly, he's being lit up. It's OSL.
That's fair.
Basically.
Ooh. That's fair. Could be a bit of the old OSL. Anyway, yeah, so anything else you want to say about the cover, mate, or should we just get on with the rules?
No, that's, as much as I would love a whole episode where we just talk about covers, I think people would be a bit bored by that.
That is true. They probably already were bored by what little we offered. But
true.
Anyway, we have, Phil, an army rule called the Gate of Infinity. But what is the Gate of Infinity, Phil? I have never heard of it.
Well, I can tell you when... Oh, I've literally just turned to the right page. So, Gate of Infinity, if your army faction is Grey Knights, at the end of your opponent's fight phase, at the end, you can select a number of units, see below, from your army that are on the battlefield, excluding those that are within engagement range of one or more enemy models, provided every model in those units has this ability. Why wouldn't it? But, maybe there's stipulations. The maximum number of units you can select depends on the battle sizes as follows. So, a small game, 1,000 points, 2 units. 2,000 points, 3 units. And a stupidly big 3,000 points is 4 units. Who knows what they do? Let's see. Oh, it says below. Once you've made your selection, remove those units from the battlefield and place them into strategic reserve. Crazy strong, I'm going to say. I believe this is the same one as pretty much what it had before. And when I played against them, oh, gosh, annoying.
It is super, super good, right? Any kind of redeploying units is, super strong.
Now, there are stipulations that they can't be in combat. So in theory, you could be like, well, I'm going to lock you down in combat. But, maybe there's going to be stratagems which will stop you from, doing that sort of thing. Like allowing them to fall back or something. But let's have a look at the detachment, shall we?
Why not? But I was going to say, the problem with getting in combat with them is they're still Grey Knights, right? And unless anything's drastically changed, they're still pretty handy. So, although, plenty of stuff is handier, I suppose. So who knows? But, the first of the detachments. How many detachments does this glorious army have? I'm counting 4, 5. Ooh, 5. Okay, fair enough. That means I'm not opposed to doing them all. So the first one is Brotherhood Strike. So, brothers come together and strike, as is the way. And they enjoy the detachment rule of the Fury of Titan. Titan obviously being the home world of the Grey Knights. And this rule is, each time a unit from your army is set up using Deep Strike ability, until the end of the turn, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, reroll a hit roll of 1, and reroll a wound roll of 1. Okay, there you go. So each time a unit from your army is set up using Deep Strike ability, till the end of the turn, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, reroll a hit roll of 1 and reroll a wound roll of 1. Now, does that mean, Phil, that every model gets to do that, or is it just the unit gets to do it?
Yeah, because each time a model in that unit makes an attack.
Yeah, so each time a unit from your ability. Okay.
So 3 units every turn are going to be deep striking down, assuming that they're not in combat the previous turn, because you're lifting them up, putting them down, uppy downy, as you like to say. They all get reroll hit rolls of 1 and wound rolls of 1, which is strong.
Strong. Jeez. That there is strong. I don't understand what just happened there, Phil. What happened?
My dear wife, who's been away for a few days, has just come back and waved at me through the window.
Oh, do you want to break for a moment and go say hello to her?
No, it's fine. She knows the drill. We're locked in. She
knows the drill. We're locked in. We're in. We're recording. We're going. Tell us about some of the enhancements, Phil. Pick one.
I will pick the first one just because it's easy. Banishing Wave. It's a psychic power. Well, it's, bracket psychic. It's a Grey Knight model only. Each time a bearer's unit is set up using the Deep Strike ability, you roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within 12 inches of the bearer. On a 2 to 5, the unit suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 6, that unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. Ooh, that's quite good.
Ooh. There you go. We have Purity of Purpose. Grey Knight model only, obviously. Although I suppose it could be, I don't know, they still have access to servitors, maybe. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Each time the bearer's unit is set up using Deep Strike ability, until the end of the turn, you can reroll charge rolls made for the bearer's unit. Good golly.
That is also good.
That is very reasonable. Any particular stratagem cry out to you?
Let's do Expeditious Exit. So it's 2 CPs. This is a big one. It's a strategic ploy. You use it at the end of your opponent's fight phase. What do you think will happen? You select one Grey Knight Psyker infantry unit from your army, which I assume is all of them, right? Because
You would guess so.
We could double check. If every model in that unit has the deep strike ability, remove your unit from the battlefield and place it into strategic reserves. So it says designer's note. This stratagem allows you to remove a unit in addition to those removed using the Gates of Affinity rule, and it allows you to remove a unit with an engagement range of 1 or more enemy units. Oh, wow. It's no wonder why it's 2 CP.
There you go.
So basically it allows you to take off 4 a turn, up potentially. Costs 2 CP, but, bearing in mind, maybe there's a character attached which maybe reduces it by 1 CP, because that's what all captains do. But, I've not read the captain rule, so I don't actually know.
I was going to say, you're throwing out some bold statements there for someone who hasn't looked to see if they even have access to that.
I mean, hold on, let's have a go. That's fine. Brotherhood Champion. No, not that one. Librarian. Brother Captain. Okay, I am wrong.
Yeah.
They get...
Okay.
Hammerhand, a psychic, whilst model is leading a unit, melee weapons have lethal hits. And also, each time a model makes an attack, you can reroll the wound roll, which is also very strong. Is there another one? It's got to be a -1. There's always a -1. Oh, wait, here we go. The Grandmaster. Warrior's Strategist. Once per battle round, one model from your army with this ability can use it when it's targeted with a stratagem. If it does, reduce the cost of that stratagem by 1 CP.
There you go.
So that's
specifically, never leave home without one.
So that's standard Grandmaster, and also Grandmaster Nemesis Dreadknight can also do that. Obviously, it's got to be a Psyker infantry unit, which I assume your Grandmaster Nemesis Dreadknight is not, but your regular Grandmaster can do that.
There you go.
There you go.
Snazzy.
That is the combo.
Well, we have another 2 CP strat here, which is True Silver Channeling. So we'll talk about that for a moment. It's in the fight phase. One Grey Knight infantry unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Until the end of the phase, psychic weapons equipped by models in that unit have the devastating wounds ability. Ooh. What was that?
I mean, yeah, not to be sniffed at. So, so far, this is though we've skimmed it, we've not looked at all of them. This is good. Yeah. Everything I see, I'm like, tasty. I could collect Grey Knights from this. This is good.
Yes. All of a sudden, I love Grey Knights. They are the best. Tell us about the next one, Phil. The Conclave, the Hallowed Conclave.
The Hallowed Conclave has the duty before all rule. This has Grey Knight Terminator units from your army are eligible to shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which they fell back. A charge. So yeah, fall back and charge and fall back and shoot. So that's good. Not quite as good as reroll wound and hit rolls of 1.
But there's extra stipulations to that though, right? Because you're basically relying on the deep striking element, and it's a whole thing. This at least just sort of is a thing, and I suppose leans into the durability of the
if you're going Terminator heavy, I would say, potentially.
And why wouldn't you be? Why wouldn't you be?
Yeah. Well, let's look at some of the enhancements. I'm going to pick one that's specific for Terminators, which is the Nemesis rounds. Grey Knight Terminator model only. Each time you target the bearer's unit with the fire Overwatch stratagem, hits are scored on an unmodified hit roll of a 5+.
Ooh. I will go with Sanctic Reaper. It's Grey Knight Terminators only, and they add 3 to the attack characteristic of the bearer's weapon. So there you go. That's pretty good. So if you had 100 attacks, you'd have 103 with this. Oh my goodness, the value.
Yeah, I mean, I assume you get a bit more out of it than that.
Well, you get 104 attacks.
Where actually is a Terminator?
Character of any sort. The Grandmasters are Terminators, aren't
they? Yeah, so the Brother Chaplain is a Terminator.
Brother Chaplin's a Terminator for sure, and he's got 5 attacks. There you go.
And the Librarian. Oh, there is a Brother Captain. Yeah, he's got a Terminator. He has 4 attacks base. Yeah, so you normally have 4 attacks. That goes up a few.
A few goes up to like 7.
Yeah, not quite double. But
there's also a stratagem called Giants of the Battlefield, which makes sense given their Terminator status. 1 CP, it's in the fight phase. 1 Grey Knight Terminator unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Until the end of the phase, add 1 to the attacks characteristics of melee weapons equipped by models in your unit. Ooh. There you go. So, that plus that.
Up to
my
4.
God.
Up to 8.
An additional 4 attacks. Yeah. Oh! Plus all the Terminators as well. Pretty good.
That is true. I'm going to select Grind Them Underfoot Strategic Ploy Stratagem, 1 CP. It's your charge phase just after a Grey Knight Terminator unit from your army ends a charge move. You select that Grey Knight's unit, select 1 enemy unit within engagement range of them. Then you roll 1d6 for each model in your unit that is within engagement range of that enemy unit, and for each 4+, they suffer 1 mortal wound to a maximum of 6. So you get impact hits. It's not bad.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Yeah, I mean, again, Terminators are fun, and that sounds like a fun way to play Terminators. So, why not do so? Next attachment is called the Banishers, which is a terrible name. Normally they feel compelled to be like Brotherhood of Banishers, Banishers of Fraggle Rock, I don't know. But anyway, it doesn't matter. They've got Channeled Force. So each time a Grey Knight unit from your army is selected to fight, that unit can take a leadership test. If that test is passed, select one of the following rules. Until the end of the phase, that unit has that rule. Solid. Melee weapons. Oh, I won't. Oh, you're going to be so impressed, Phil. Melee weapons equipped by the model in this unit with the psychic ability also have the sustained hits 1 ability, or can also have the lethal hits ability. Ooh, how original.
You select one of them. Lethal hits or sustained hits. It's interesting that there's, a psychic stipulation. Which units are not psychic? So, all the characters, they're all psychic. Yes. Okay. Tech Marine, he's a psyker. They're psychers.
Yeah. I think pretty much other than the Land Raiders and the Storm Ravens of things are psychers, basically.
Yeah, no, true, because even the Dreadnoughts are psychers. You just say Land Raider, definitely not. Rhino Razorback there, obviously not. And
I remember when Grey Knights came out in 5th edition, they made it that their Land Raiders and Storm Ravens were psychic.
Well, if you think about it, a Dreadnought is not psychic. The pilot is psychic inside the Dreadnought, and guess who's piloting a Rhino and a Storm Raven and a Land Raider? A Grey Knight, who is, guess what? He's psychic, so, why not? The logical leap isn't too far out there. Here's the thing, with your Rhinos and your planes, do you really care about melee weapons getting sustained hits and lethal hits? With your...
No, obviously not.
No, I guess thematically, yes, they are correct. But you could have just said, I don't know, non-vehicle or something? I don't know. Maybe it makes sense. Yeah, okay.
Back in the day, Phil, when they were psychic, they used to be able to use psychic powers. So you used to be able to have like a Storm Raven fly up the board using its fly thing, and then still drop units off because they drop units off using, transport capacity. But then you could use another psychic test to basically teleport a unit to the psyker. So you could go double bubble. So anyway,
I'm not averse to that, to be honest.
Yeah. Anyway, tell us about an enhancement, Phil.
Ephemeral Tome. It is a Grey
sounds-
Knights infantry model only. At the start of your shooting phase, if the bearer's unit is not within engagement range of one or more enemy units, you can use this enhancement. If it does, the bearer can make a normal move of up to d6 inches until the end of that turn. The bearer's unit is not eligible to declare a charge. I mean, terrible? It's a very defensive thing, I guess. So it's at the start of your shooting phase, if the bearer's unit is not with it. So so it's not a defensive thing you do in your opponent's turn. I guess if you've got a very short range shooting, so if you've got, because surely the purifiers, right, they're flamer based. Are they purifier? Oh, Purgation Squad, that's who I'm thinking of. They've got a 12-inch range incinerator, so getting an extra d6 move on top of that, I guess, is okay.
I mean, it could certainly be worse.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't strike me as standout like some of the others have been, but yeah.
No, I totally agree with that statement. It's far from exceptional, but it's not nothing, I suppose. But you're probably not going to take it. I mean, you're probably, well, I don't know. Being able to get sustained hits one is probably quite good still, but yeah. Let's carry on. I will say the 66th seal, because D6 system, people like the number 6, so surely the 66th seal should have great significance. Grey Knight models only. In your shooting phase, each type of model in the bearer's unit makes an attack. Improve the AP characteristic of that attack by 1. Ooh.
But you sure, Dan, you don't want to move d6 inches instead? Is that not more beneficial?
I mean, sure. Why not?
Night and day. Not comparable.
Night and day. Well, there you go. At least they got something halfway decent.
Yeah.
What stratagem do you want to talk about,
I'll go for Hex Wrought Reprisal. You can tell I'm going for the Night Haunty sounding ones in this Banishers detachment. So this is 1 CP Epic Deed. At the end of any phase, one Grey Knight Psyker unit from your army that is on the battlefield and suffered 1 or more mortal wounds this phase. Select one enemy unit which inflicted 1 or more mortal wounds on your unit this phase. Then roll a number of dice equal to the number of mortal wounds your unit suffered this phase. For each 2+, the enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound to a maximum of 6 mortal wounds. These mortal wounds are psychic attacks. I guess if that makes a particular difference, maybe against like demons, or maybe something else in this book that triggers on a psychic attack specifically. But that seems odd that they would say it's a psychic attack, but it is thematically a psychic attack.
There are some abilities that go off specifically against psychic attacks. Watchers in the Dark, I want to say, I think. Or maybe they've changed that to generic mortals now. But there are definitely some things that have feel no pains against psychic specific attacks. Yeah.
I mean, it's cool. It's very thematic. Like, you've done mortal damage to me, I'm going to do it to you. It seems so situationally niche. And, maybe you're doing a mirror match and a bunch of Terminators have just charged into you with their impact hit stratagem. And then you'd be like, cool, take that back.
Yeah. I mean, it's not bad, I suppose. In the sense
it goes off on a 2-up as well. So it's...
Well,
I guess it's specific. Exactly. Yeah. I think here's the thing. I think it's a 2+ because it's like you've got to take those mortal wounds to dish it back, which isn't fun. So, whereas it's not like you're just running in doing the mortal wounds consequence.
It would be fun if I would have preferred almost like do it on a 4+, but then like basically make it that
we can do more.
You don't suffer the mortal wound.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
Anyway, let's go with Chaos Bane, because who doesn't like being the Bane of Chaos? You use it in your shooting phase. One Grey Knight Psyker unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase, and until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in your unit have anti-chaos 4+. Ooh, that's annoying. If you're fighting against chaos, I suppose.
Again,
very situational, and also something that you're probably going to do if you play a mate who runs Chaos all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, it's just like, oh, you want to bring Death Guard again, do you? Well, have fun with that. Noting, obviously, the Death Guard just got a big point. Well, quite a few consistent points increases today. So, pour one out for those guys.
What's interesting about this detachment is the main rule is all about melee attacks because you can get sustained or lethal. But then everything else seems to be shooting focused, which does make it a balanced sort of list. But personally, it feels like you should skew into the theme of your detachment. So it's like, cool, my detachment rules are about hitting you in combat. So I want my enhancements and I want my stratagems to all be more combat focused. But, maybe this is actually meant to be, it is meant to be a bit more of a balanced list. But it is odd that nothing seems to really combo with the detachment rule.
Yeah, it is a peculiar thing for sure. This one, the next one, Phil, the Spearhead, the Sanctic Spearhead, just by the image alone, I'm guessing is going to be good. But let's discover together. What do they have?
You want me to read this one, yeah? It's the...
Oh, yeah, I think it's your turn to read, isn't it? Didn't I do the one where it was yours? It's the last one. Come on now.
Oh, sure.
Keep up, Phil, keep up.
It's the picture is the Dread Knights. The detachment rule is mailed fist. Each time a Grey Knight vehicle unit from your army advances, do not make an advance roll for it. Until the end of that phase, add 6 to the move characteristic of models in that unit. And until the end of that turn, ranged weapons equipped by this model have the assault ability. Tasty. Then, I'm going to read the weird-sounding ones. Quickening Foci. F-O-C-I. Foci. Foci. Yeah. Let's read the description to see what it is. Worked into purity seals or armoured inscriptions, these cantrips of haste lend the bearer and their comrades a sudden burst of supernatural speed. Okay, so really none the wiser about what a Foci is. We'll have to Google that later. Grey Knights infantry models only. In your movement phase, each time the bearer units disembarks from transport, until the end of that turn, you can reroll the charge rolls made for that unit. That's pretty good.
So apparently Foci is the plural noun version of focus.
Oh.
According to the English Cambridge Dictionary.
Never heard of it before, but don't let anyone tell you that reading Games Workshop does not increase your vocabulary, because they love a good archaic or abstract word that you've never heard of before.
No, indeed. I'll go with Spiritus Machina, which is Grey Knight infantry models only. In your shooting phase, each time the bearer's unit is selected to shoot, if the bearer's unit disembarked from a transport this turn until the end of the phase, each time model in that bearer's unit makes an attack, you can re-roll the wound roll. Very good. Very good. And just to kind of get things back on track, I'm going to say a stratagem before Phil. So Phil does the stratagem, and then I'll read the detachment rule for the next detachment. There we go. Thus regaining order. And we're going to go with Abominus class targets. So it happens in your shooting phase. One Grey Knight unit.
Or fight phase.
Not yet.
Sorry.
Or fight phase. Or fight phase. Yes, absolutely. Shooting phase or fight phase, such as this is written. One Grey Knight unit that hasn't shot or fought until the end of the phase. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack that targets a monster or vehicle unit, add 1 to the wound rolls.
I'll take that for 1 CP. Yeah, that's
I'll buy that for $1.
That's pretty good. I'll do Armoured Aegis. So it's in your command phase. You select a Grey Knight Psyker vehicle unit from your army, which, as we've discussed, is not transports. It is specifically a dreadnought or dread knights. Wait, are they vehicles for dread knights, or are they monsters?
Yeah, they're vehicles. Yeah,
they're just tombstone.
But they must be. Look at them; they're covered in robot bits.
I mean,
Walker vehicle. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. You regain up to 3 lost wounds for 1 CP. Which isn't too bad. Odd they specifically made it a psyker, because then you can't do it to your transports in this sort of, I guess it is a vehicle generic themed list, but obviously we've read out a bunch of stuff specifically to do with transports, and then they're excluded from that.
They, oh no, they do still have access to Tech Marines, though. The Grey Knights. Interesting.
Who is a psyker as well.
Yeah, I always found when they introduced the Tech Marine as the Grey Knights as it being really odd, but whatever. Let it go.
Would he be red or silver?
He'd be silver, I guess, because Grey Knights, but then because he would have to have all the warding seals and all the things that are kind of customary to the Grey Knights. The red armor is obviously depicting their, Martian status, isn't it? But that's the thing, like in Space Marine armies, they don't really trust Tech Marines because Tech Marines are of Mars. But then, obviously, Grey Knights are even more superstitious. So presumably, I guess maybe some very particular. I should really just read the fluff on Grey Knight Tech Marines and understand how they work. But I suppose now that everything's Primaris, everything's of Mars anyway, isn't it? So it's all a bit moot. Last of the detachments is the Augrium. Which is probably not how you pronounce it, but I said it with confidence, so we're going to let it roll. Task Force. And their ability is prescient redeployment. So from the second battle round onwards, at the start of your movement phase, if you did not select the maximum number of Grey Knight units from your army using the Gate of Affinity ability, at the end of your opponent's previous turn, you can select one Grey Knight unit from your army that is not on the battlefield that could have been selected using the Gate of Affinity ability. Remove that unit. That is on the battlefield. Could have been selected. Remove that unit from the battlefield and place it into strategic reserves. Designer note. This means that your unit can retain its position on the battlefield at the end of your command phase and then be placed into strategic reserves at the start of your movement phase to set up again in your reinforcement step in another position. There you go. So at the start of your movement phase, it goes away. Basically what it's saying is this ability enables you to score your objective, then disappear, then come back again. That makes sense to you, Phil?
Oh, right, yeah, because movement phase. Okay, yeah, so it's... Yeah, I mean, it is very confusing, and the designer's note doesn't clarify it completely, but because normally it's the end of your opponent's turn, you select stuff to disappear, and then you come back in end of movement phase, but this is keep it on the board, and then in your movement phase... You take it off and then redeploy it straight away?
No, at the end. So basically, the first thing you do at the start of your movement phase is take them off, and then at the end, you bring it back with the other units that are eligible to return or be deployed from reserves.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, so as they start movement phase. Okay, right. Oh, that's quite good, actually. Bit shenanigans.
Yeah, it's actually a really good ability.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enhancements, mate? Anyone?
Pick a Grimoire of Conjunctions, because it's just a cool sounding name. It's a
Great Conjunction.
Exactly, yeah. It's a Grey Knight model only. Once per battle at the start of a fight phase, if this bearer can use... the bearer can use this enhancement. If it does, until the end of that phase, add 4 to the strength characteristic of melee weapons equipped by the bearer. So you are just going Sam.
Sam?
Super Sam?
Super Sam. Fair.
No.
Let's go with 1 foot in the future. I suppose we all are. Grey Knight models only. Each time the bearer's unit is set up in your reinforcement step, the bearer can use this enhancement. If it does, the bearer's unit can make a normal move of up to D6. And until the end of the turn, the bearer's unit is not eligible to declare a charge. Interesting. Very interesting.
So you're already deep striking down. So it technically gives you an extra D6 that you could push onto an objective, but obviously not into combat. So that's really the only time it's going to be used, because you've already got the mobility.
Yeah, exactly. It's very good for, say for example, you've drawn your secondaries, and you know that you need to go and do a particular type of thing. So you need to go do an action in their deployment zone, or you need to do, an action in a terrain feature, or you need to be in a corner. There's a lot of applications for that.
I guess good on a shooting unit that you don't really want to be charging in anyway.
Yeah, just good for a general kind of utility unit that you're going to be using for, general, because that's one of the strong aspects of these guys for sure. Any particular strategy?
I will do Redirected Strike. It is an epic deed stratagem for 1 CP. You select it at the end of your command phase. You target 1 Grey Knight Psyche unit that is not within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units. You then, so if a unit has the Deep Strike ability, it can be placed into strategic reserves. This stratagem lets players utilize abilities that retain control of objective markers and react to their missions and objectives with this unit. Oh, so this is a similar thing to the actual detachment rule. So it's after you've scored your points, you select another unit that can then go into strategic reserves and then come down at the end of the movement phase. So basically, this gives you effectively 2 units that can stick around and then disappear.
Mate, very reasonable. Last one I'll pick is Forewarned Evasion. That's in your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase. Just our enemy unit has selected its targets. 1 Grey Knight's Walker unit from your army that was selected as the target of 1 or more of the attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack targets that unit, subtract 1 from the hit rolls. So basically, it's essentially smoke, but in the form of evasion. So not that incredible, but still useful, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
I really like that task force. I think that's a really shenanigansy, fun thing.
Yeah,
that you can do a lot of nonsense with.
I think so. I think that gives you a lot of mobility and, really good for scoring secondaries. Potentially quite unfun for your opponent. But, it seems good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right. Okay, so unit-wise, they've only added 1 new thing to this book, which is the Grandmaster in Nemesis Dread Knight, which, as people who play, Grey Knights will know, it's not a new thing at all. It's just that they've given it a new model, and it's got some slightly new weapon upgrades, etc. The Nemesis Dread Knight has been kind of like the staple, the lifeblood of the Grey Knight army. For as long as it's been around, basically. They've always been disturbingly effective in all iterations, and it seems like this is no exception. But the Grandmaster in Nemesis Dread Knight is the new kit. So I suppose we should probably just talk about it briefly. Also, actually worth mentioning as well, though, that Grey Knights did also get a very good Grotmus detachment that probably is also still likely to do the rounds, even with these new additions, because their Grotmus detachment was quite reasonable. It was the one where they got like all re-rolls all the time because of purifiers and other stuff, basically.
Okay.
Pretty mad synergies. But anyway, Grandmaster in Nemesis Dread Knight has only got a movement of 8, which I'm really shocked about. He's got a long leg span. You would have thought he would have had a bit more movement, wouldn't you?
True, but why bother walking when you can just be teleporting everywhere?
Well, that is true. That is true. Toughness 8, which also feels quite light. But I guess obviously it's a little baby carrier for Terminator, so fair play. Save is as you would expect, 2+ with a 4+ invuln, 13 wounds, which is pretty reasonable. Leadership 6, which is standard Space Marine fare, and then an OC of 4. It's got a bunch of different weapons, which I probably won't go into any great detail on, other than the Nemesis flail, because the Nemesis flail is its new weapon, essentially, as well as, I believe, the Nemesis mace.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about those two. So the Nemesis flail has 10 attacks, which is fair enough. Is a weapon skill 2+, strength of 5, which is pretty underwhelming, -1 AP and 2 damage. So definitely good at killing Primaris Marines, I suppose. But obviously, most of the time nowadays, people aren't. Well, people have a fair few of them running around. I guess if you're running into a Grey Knight player Space Wolf player with some Blood Claws or Grey Hunters, it'll be useful in that situation. And the Nemesis Mace seems interesting because it's got anti-character 2+, precision and psychic.
Bonk.
Yeah, that's pretty mad, actually. So, 5 attacks, weapon skill 2+, strength 6, -3 damage. That is pretty scary to most characters. Like 5 attacks hitting on 2s, presumably gaining access to some level of ability that will either allow you to reroll 1s or allow you to get sustained hits or get lethal hits, which will all trigger, by the way, if you're targeting a character on those 2+, because those resolve as crit hits. So if you had the ability to go, hey, I got sustained hits, and hit a character with precision, all your 2+ would basically. Oh no, that doesn't work because that's hit rolls, not wound rolls. There you go. I caught myself there, everybody. Don't pay attention to me. I am wrong. But anyway, because the anti-character 2+ is relation to a wound roll or a critical wound roll, not a critical hit roll. But anyway, still would make a mess of a lot of characters. He's got the ability Surge of Wrath. Each time this model makes a melee attack that targets a monster or vehicle, you can reroll the hit roll, and you can reroll the wound roll, and you can reroll the damage roll. I mean, why the heck not? And then Warrior Strategist, once per battle, we already know this, reduce the cost of stuff by 1 CP. He seems alright, doesn't he? I mean, lots of really awesome options.
Yeah.
New upgrade to an otherwise pretty tired kit, but not bad.
Yeah, it's interesting because the Great Hammer has a very ultimately has a better profile, I would say, than the Mace, but the Mace has that precision and anti-character, which basically means you're just picking off someone in a horde of models, which is pretty good.
That being said, though, you yourself are a character and you can reduce the cost of a strategy by 1, so you can just use Heroic Duel, i.e. give yourself precision on the Demon Hammer if you wanted.
True. I guess you're only going to be wounding on 3s against a lot of characters, maybe even 4s against, characters on, I want to say, like bikes or something.
The Demonic Grey Hammer, strength 14.
Oh, sorry. I was talking about the Mace, right? But you're right. Just take the Demonic Grey Hammer and then, do that. Because that is strength 14 -3. D6 +1 damage. And it's that same 5 attacks. So I guess you're hitting all 3s, which is the only difference. But
obviously you get stuck into like an Avatar or stuck into a Greater Demon or stuck into an Imperial Knight of size and stature, and you're getting to reroll everything.
I feel like against a Mace, like the Mace is nice but too niche, whereas the Great Hammer's good against all characters and big things as well, and sort of little things, but you're just not going to kill many of them.
I suppose if you did the thing where you gave so there was a stratagem, I believe, in the Strike Force, the initial one, that would, for 2 CP, give your weapons devastating. So
yes, but that's only infantry models. I did look that up because I was like, what was the combo with the devastating? So you can't sadly do that one. But there is obviously the last one we looked at. Was it the last one or second to last? The second to last one, where you can get third to last with the sustained hits or lethal hits in combat. So with any of those weapons, I guess lethal less so, but sustained hits I think would be probably quite good, especially on the Great Hammer.
OC4 seems pretty reasonable as well. To be fair. Pretty good OC.
Yeah, and obviously this is just the character version, but there is also the generic version as well, which you could take. I guess they're not ever in squads though; they're just like standalones, aren't they?
They are, yeah. They're just individual minis.
Yeah, but you could rock a couple, and it would look pretty cool on the tabletop.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Is there any other particular units we want to talk about? I suppose,
I feel like we should look at either Castellan Crow or Grandmaster Voldus, just because they're the named characters.
Well, yeah, no, let's have a little, gander at them. Which one do you want to pick?
Let's do Voldus, who's the slightly older, but the first of the new sized ones, I would say, because he's not really a mini Terminator, I would say.
I don't know. He kind of is.
I guess so, because he came out at the same time as Guilliman, so that was part of the Gathering Storm. So it's pre-Primaris, whereas Castellan Crow is sort of post-Primaris and definitely, scaled to be a bit taller. But he's a gorgeous model still. He is movement 5 inches, toughness 5, a 2 up save, 4 up in bun, 7 wounds, which is pretty good. Leadership 6 and 1 OC. He's got the leader, deep strike. He's got the Gates of Infinity, so he's got the Sanctuary Psychic ability. So while this model is leading a unit, each time an attack that targets that unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll, and that's just a given. So that is very good. Then he's also got the Hammer of Flame Psychic ability, which is each time this model's unit is selected to fight, so you can select one enemy unit within engagement range of this unit and roll a d6. On a 2 to 3, the enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 4 to 5, the enemy unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. On a 6, the enemy unit suffers d3 plus 3 mortal wounds. It feels like that could combo with a stratagem which does the same thing. Like when you charge in, you can do some mortal wounds with your sort of psychic ability, so you could do a lot of mortal wounds to someone. He's got the Searing Purity ranged weapon, which is not a Storm Bolter, it's just a psychic ability. It's devastating wounds and psychic, range of 12 inches, d3 plus 1 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 12, minus 2 AP and 2 damage. That's not bad. And then he's got a Storm Bolter, which is a Storm Bolter, as we were joking about in the last episode. Cool named characters just have a bog standard Boggo Bolter. Nothing special. It's not named. It's not even mastercrafted, which is a bit mad for the Grand Master of an entire special unique chapter. But whatever. But he does have a melee weapon, which is gonna be a bit more interesting. Malleus Argrium, which is also psychic. It is 5 attacks, hitting on 2s, strength 10, minus 2 AP and 3 damage, which weirdly has more strength than the Grandmaster in Nemesis Dread Knights Nemesis Maith.
Yes.
It's equal.
It's a hammer, isn't it?
It's a dizzy hammer, but but I mean, that's not too bad. And he can join Terminator squads and Paladin squads. So I mean, I quite like him for his profile. Obviously, shame about the Storm Bolter, but that will be a hill I will die on my own.
Well, Castellan Crow is the same, right? So he's got the Purifying Flame as a ranged attack, but then he's also got Storm Bolter. Yeah. But Purifying Flame sounds interesting though, because it's range 18, 3 attacks. Hits on 2, strength 4, minus 2 AP with 1 damage, but it's also anti-infantry 2 plus, ignores cover, and obviously psychic as well. And then he's got the Black Blade, which is devastating wounds and precision. So a nice combination there. 5 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 6, minus 2 damage. And he can join Purifier squads. So he's champion of the Order of Purifiers, which is a psychic ability. While this model is leading a unit, add 1 to the attack's characteristic of Purifying Flame weapons equipped by models in that unit. So himself and the other purifiers actually have more shots. And then Foresight, which also say each time this model makes an attack that targets a character unit, you can re-roll the hit rolls, which is also pretty tasty. So Crow's definitely got some interesting playability for sure. Again, amazing character, to be fair, Castellan Crow. Again, as I understand it, and this is me paraphrasing because I haven't gotten around to reading the fluff on him, But back in the day, he was super amazing because he carries a demon blade but refuses to use the power of a demon blade. So he's basically constantly subjecting himself to the temptations of this demon inside of this blade. But I think now, because...
No, I think that's similar. So the little fluff in the top right-hand corner says, Castellan Crow charges into battle, wreathed in the blinding psychic fire that is a hallmark of his order, though he will never be fool enough to unlock the forbidden power of a black blade of Antwer. He still wields the captive blade with tremendous skill and strength, using it, his Stormbolter and his potent psychic might, to cut through a path through his foe. So it's like he uses the sword, but he doesn't unlock its true power.
Yeah, but that's the thing that's weird, though, is that to me it always just felt like a weird design decision that they basically made the sword flaming with demonic energy, you know, because it kind of... But again,
like
maybe I suppose...
Yeah.
It looks like he's using it, but maybe he isn't. Maybe that's just what it does to try and get him to use it, going, hey, what do you reckon? Hey. That's why I'd be no good as a demon blade trying to tempt people to use me.
But it's odd that he's got a profile for it, because he clearly does use it. So, but he's just not using its, full power. But I would almost love it if there was an option where it says, but you could choose to. And if it did, this is its profile, but then this is what happens to you afterwards or something. Like it just does a bunch of mortal wounds to you at the end of the turn or something for its corrupting nature. But maybe that's just not lore friendly. But I love that kind of temptation, which is what Chaos is all about.
Well, there you go. Maybe they could have done a thing where it's like you can use it, but at the end of the game, at the end of the game, you have to deduct 30 victory points from your score or something.
Because you're not under pure.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, otherwise, Grey Knights is Grey Knights, right? Like, they've got loads of super elite Space Marine units that are armed with power weapons and Stormbolters and a bunch of psychic powers. Obviously, the synergies within the different kind of detachments are really interesting to see. I love the one with the shenanigansiness where I can start, like, moving stuff around weirdly. I think the one, obviously, when they come down from Deep Strike and then gain access to the kind of re-rolls, hits and wounds stuff is really cool as well. But it's a little bit kind of plain Jane in terms of its applications. It's quite kind of one-dimensional. I actually really like the one that layers in a bit more kind of complexity into your gameplay, expressiveness, etc., because it's fun to do tricky stuff on the tabletop, and obviously that's what that gives you access to, which I'm honestly dead in favour of. So yeah, it's a cool, actually quite interesting book with some interesting stuff in it. Obviously this is just kind of a snippet, a little flavour of it. We don't comprehensively go through everything and start thinking about all the variables, but Grey Knights do feel like they're in a quirky place right now. I guess if you're someone who's already got them, good for you, carry on using them. They're completely viable and playable in this form, and will be until obviously the next book comes along. But I would always encourage anyone who is thinking about getting into Grey Knights right now not to bother, because the range is very old and requiring, demanding a range refresh, which is very likely to receive very soon. So I think in all probability, if you were to go out there and buy Grey Knights, you'll be disappointed shortly thereafter.
100%. This is the like the rules are very cool. The concept of Grey Knights are very cool. As we've said many a time, I've had the original metal Grey Knight Terminators from way back when, like 2nd edition. I always had a squad of them in my guard army for some reason. So I've always had a bit of a love for Grey Knights. But yeah, just don't touch them with a barge pole currently, because they're clearly due a range refresh at some point, and when they do, I think there'd be a really compelling prospect to like buy into them. But I think for now, you've either got to buy into them knowing that they kind of look terrible and they will be changed, but you just love them so much that's what you do, or you're someone who's a bit of a glutton for punishment, and you will be lovingly converting them all from like Primaris Marines or something, which I have seen people do. And I was just going to point out, have you seen page 86 and 87? There is a double page spread on how to do like cool conversions for your champions. It's not particularly Primarisifying them, because they're mostly using existing models. I think one of them's from a Castellan Crow, but one of the Terminators, I think, is the standard Primaris librarian Terminator that they've converted up to be a Brotherhood librarian, which is very cool looking.
Yeah, which actually looks proper nice.
All of those runic symbols on the armor actually work really well when it's just all silver and not like a blue librarian with some mad OSL applied to them. So yeah, that looks really good. That is like the potential of how good they can be. And it's actually kind of cool that Games Workshop are sort of acknowledging the issue here, but also great that they're also reminding people that kit bashing is part of the hobby, because if you was to just look at standard codex, you wouldn't know it's a thing or existed. So it's great that it has a presence in books, and I think should be something that should really exist in all books as an inspiration for people.
The only thing that's sort of weird, though, and I'm going to read the words. So, Carlos used the current Grey Knight kits to replicate the classic metal Brother Captain miniature, built primarily from the Brotherhood Terminator Squad kit. And they got the photos of how he basically, like, did it. Oh, is that actually legit? Oh, okay, no, he really pulled that off. Fair play.
Which one is this that he's
on the right hand side, third one down or second one up? The Brotherhood.
Oh, Captain. Yeah, that is an existing kit. Yeah.
No, but that is apparently the plastic one made to look like the old metal. And to be fair, I think he's really pulled that off.
Yeah, no, it has that vibe for sure.
Hang on, did they use old photography? Oh yeah, good. Yeah, look. So if you go to page 70, you see the old original version, and then you skip over to page 87. You can see how we've done it. So actually, that was. I honestly thought they mucked up there. Oh wow, that's a really nice section. To be fair, fair play to GW for actually putting a bit of hobby in an actual codex for a change. That's nice. I mean, I know they've been doing like painting guides and things lately, which has been really well received, but actually seeing conversion stuff is super cool.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's good. Well needed.
Yeah. No, overall, Grey Knights, good times. Again, don't, but if you've already got them, great. You know, that's basically the vibe. Don't go near them unless you already have them, in which case, hug them tightly, because they'll be leaving you soon, like your children leaving home or whatever. You have to let go of them. Don't cry.
I was just going to say one last thing. If you turn over to the next page after the conversions, there's a mad piece of artwork featuring a Grey Knight Terminator Chaplain, which I don't think I've ever seen before concepted in model form or picture. So that's...
they first introduced him in 9th edition, I want to say. I'm just now checking my 8th edition Grey Knight Codex, just to be completely certain.
It's a bit too overly scully for my liking, but as a concept, it's kind of cool.
Well, they were in a uniquely odd situation with that one, because at the time, the plastic Terminator Chaplain
was that really awful one with all the skulls going down, which is what this is depicting. Yeah, it was the limited edition one that they did at the time, because they did the original one with all the skulls going down. Then they did, and then with a Stormbolter, and then they did one with a combi weapon. There's another kind of limited release in a different kind of pose, if you remember. And I think that was the one they did in 9th edition when they first introduced it. Again, it never really made sense to me, but at the same time, I guess why wouldn't they have chaplains? Because they've got to be extra devout still. But part of me would think that they're so devout they don't need them.
Well, they didn't used to have them, right? But then obviously that was just because no one had made a model, and they just went, whatever. And as time has obviously passed by, they were just like, it's probably about time that we rectify that whole situation. And fair play to them, really. I mean, ultimately, there doesn't seem like a reasonable reason why they shouldn't have chaplains, other than the fact that maybe they shouldn't. But they do. So there we go. These are the things we have to stay folky about. Or folky on. There we go. That's a reference to earlier where we discovered that the word focus is shortened down to folky.
Or focky.
Or focky. Anyway, right, there we are. That was Codex Grey Knights in all of its splendour. We were going to do King of the Characters thing, but I'll be honest, it's sort of now not really feeling the vibe. So before we get to the 5-star review, Phil, is there anything you wanted to talk about in the general sense?
Oh, a general. Oh, well, I'm sure there's stuff to talk about. Do you want to do a transitional noise and make it an old school classic outro?
No, not really. I just wanted to talk about it now. But I'll do it, Phil, because it's probably more sensible. I can tell you probably just want to go to the toilet. So we'll transition.
No, I would like to say hello to my dear wife, of course.
That's not what you were saying earlier, Phil. That's not what you were saying earlier. Anyway, it's fine. Right, okay, fine. Well, it's either going to be a 5-star review or a traditional outro. Who knows? You'll discover momentarily. Transitional noise. Yes, so it turns out we're just going to do the general chin wag, which will probably just evolve, something like that, into Phil complaining that it doesn't like the new Nighthaunt rules very much, but he might talk about something else. Who knows?
I'm sure I'll try and avoid it. But you did find out that Grey Knight chaplains did exist in earlier editions.
They did, yeah. Sorry, I did discover that they were in 8th edition as well. So there you go. Lesson learned, my friends. Lesson learned. For all I know, they could have even been in 7th edition. But I can't be bothered to go get the 7th edition book. But you know, I do have it though. I do have it in the great hall, the great library of Warhammer literature that I have. I actually picked up the other day, Phil. I got Fanquill, the Skaven End Times book, which is quite fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was quite a nice get. Yeah, it was really cool. It's really cool. I mean, the End Times is now one of those things where it's long enough ago that it's kind of viewed with, you know, malice, I suppose, or frustration, but not, you know, outright anger like it was in the day. We've kind of moved on, I suppose.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think I was trying to listen to. I found like a lore video on YouTube to explain what on earth happened, and it ended up being so long and a bit boring, I sort of switched off after a while because I think they were doing loads of preamble to just explain the Warhammer universe in general. I was like, okay, I can't be bothered with that. But I would like to either read the books or, find out exactly what went down, because I sort of have a broad understanding of some of the elements, but not a lot. It sounds like lots of named characters got killed off, much of the annoyance of whoever's faction that character belonged to. I went down a rabbit hole recently, speaking of End Times. I went down because I've been, with the Chaos Dwarves being announced, I ended up reading all about Tamral Khan, which was there.
Oh yes, yeah.
So and the rabbit hole of Warhammer Forge, which was specifically the Warhammer Fantasy section of Forge World, of which they didn't do much, but they did things like the Marienburg Landship, in addition to all the kind of Chaos Dwarf ranges. So those units were all in Tamral Khan. And it was interesting because Rick Priestley has done a bunch of interviews where he talked about Tamral Khan and what it was. Because it wasn't just Alan Bligh, it was Alan Bligh did some of it, but Rick Priestley, I think, did the main story gist of it. And it sounded like he was tasked with a sort of soft rebooting of the Warhammer Fantasy sort of setting in a way where he could sort of push the storyline forwards and sort of, I presume, evolve it in a way in the direction that they wanted to do. But it sounded like they were like, yeah, and he was making headway on that. And Tamral Khan was part of that, because I believe Tamral Khan was one of 4 planned books, and some of the characters for the second book ended up being released under Warhammer Forge as part of Age of Sigmar, because what they did is they then were like, oh no, we're doing End Times. And it sounded like End Times was very much a top-down, manager-led decision, I guess. With the thing of it's not selling, we need a new game system, so we're just going to scrap it all and start again. The irony being, I guess, that's been painfully obvious since then is that Warhammer Fantasy is a beloved IP, not just to the customers who were buying the models, but to people that didn't necessarily even play the game in regards to licensing deals. So, Warhammer Total War being a great one, Vermintide being another great example of the sort of broader appeal of Warhammer beyond, us who are actually buying the miniatures.
Yeah, I feel like even and obviously those are two video game examples, but I also think things like Hero Quest and other kind of board games.
Oh yeah,
of the
Warhammer
world.
Quest.
Those things had a lot of resonance, as well as the Warhammer RPG system was really highly praised at the time.
Woof-Rup, as it's called.
Yeah.
That was, I remember having, I think it was the second or third ed. It was the old big book version, which they've, the cover art's been redone recently in the latest iteration of it. So there's a lot of love in that whole setting. So it was just interesting going down the rabbit hole of kind of what went wrong, and what I've been trying to find out what might have been with Rick Priestley's sort of version, but there's scant information about it. All I think I know is if Tamara Khan's story is, if I remember rightly, it's something like 4 children of, I think, a chaos god or something 4 champions of chaos are basically sort of heralding maybe their own version of the end times, but they're all trying to invade the Imperium. Tamara Khan himself is, I think, Nurgle based, and then
the Empire, mate, not the Imperium.
Sorry, the Empire, yeah. And Tamara Khan, which I didn't realise, is he's apparently, because there's a big model with an ogre riding this, sort of some kind of lizard beast or something, if I recall.
Yeah.
And I always assumed he's the big ogre on riding him, but it's not. It's like this little slug that is, he's a parasite on the ogre who's sort of taken him over. So he's this tiny little slug character, which is quite interesting. So he fights the Chaos Dwarves, but then makes a deal with them, and then the Chaos Dwarves join them, and then they go on to, I think, Marienburg, which is where there's the Siege of Marienburg, which is why you get the landship and stuff like that. So it was really interesting. And what was quite clever about it, which I didn't particularly realise, because I always assumed that the Chaos Dwarves, having a vastly different aesthetic from the original full-fed metal big hat Chaos Dwarves, was just a sort of an update to it. But actually what it is I think it's the Black Tower, which is where to the very south of the Chaos Dwarf lands, is where this Chaos Dwarf army is set, and that's why it's stylistically very different. It's still in keeping, but it's a different, it's a niche theming of their army, and not overall representative of what Chaos Dwarves are meant to be, which is why it looks different, but still within the scope of not changing what existed beforehand, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does make sense. And I have spent a bunch of time also thumbing through the pages of Tamar Khan is definitely a cool piece of world building within the old world. I love a lot of those elements. And again, it's something that I've only myself really been discovering more and more about as I've engaged more in kind of old world content, I suppose. I've been working on my Tomb Kings. Thank you, Joe, for doing the commission on those and getting them painted to a kind of tabletop standard for me. But I've been mucking around, kind of fiddling with those, getting their bases a bit more sexy looking, so as I can start putting them down on the tabletop and feeling happy about pushing them around. Although, to be fair, they're perfectly functional as how Joe has kind of done them initially. But it's cool to sort of discover more and more about the old world. I'll tell you what, actually, as well, on the topic of end times, old world, and its destruction, etc., is I'm actually really enjoying the kind of retrospective articles they've been doing on Warhammer community about the 10 years of Age of Sigmar, because as someone who's become more and more heavily invested in AOS as a system from a gameplay perspective, I definitely haven't done enough to kind of understand the lore of the world to the same extent, obviously, that I understand 40k. I was saying this, and probably have said this on the podcast already, but it's mad, really, when you look at the shelves of Warhammer 40,000, and I can very easily speak to, even if, not entirely accurate, but mostly correct, even if quite anecdotal, like fiction and world and lore and interesting things about almost everything in Warhammer 40,000. It's like if you go, here is a box of Katachan guardsmen. I'm like, cool, I know what their deal is. I know where they live. I know what they do. I remember when they had a unique Codex supplement that came out in 3rd edition that gave them access to booby traps such as punji pits. Oh, good times, Like, there's so much, like, history and weight to that stuff just because of, obviously, time spent within that world, whereas AOS I've definitely not done as good a job with kind of understanding, although I am continuing to try. But articles like these are really great because it starts to give you a semblance of knowledge that, builds the curiosity, that it's the pebble that starts the avalanche or whatever it is,
Yeah, I mean, I've always been quite keen to try and get hold of the 1st edition kind of campaign books that they did, because they did like the quest for Gol McGraz, Sigmar's hammer. So it was a quest to find that. And then I think when they did, they introduced the model, which was the guy carrying it, who isn't Sigmar. And then they did, the Realm Gate Wars was a really interesting time where Sigmar was like pushing out, and it was like their version of the Crusades, basically. So that was always quite fascinating. And it feels like in the 1st edition, there was so much more of a shift in the sort of the timeline of stuff was happening, and it felt like you were playing along with it. Now it sort of feels like, you're in the realm of beasts once more, because everything's set in Gur, it seems, and we're just playing some really generic missions. Like this season, there's a thing about the ley lines and the power of the trees and stuff, but it's like, but what's happening around this within the lore and the characters? Nothing. Is in terms of the GHB isn't really setting the story in the same way that those old books were, where there were sort of specific missions that you could play, or more themed stuff. And the last edition, the ramp up, I only read a couple of them in the end, but that kind of series of books felt like they were doing quite a good job of setting the story in terms of what's going on in the lead up to Skaven Tide. But it doesn't feel like we've had anything since, and I guess what we'll have is next year another series of wrap up books, which then sort of kicks the story back into gear. But it feels like it's odd for the first year of the new edition, we haven't really had anything.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, obviously the Skaven Tide has been a big part of it. The 5th Chaos God, that whole thing. I think, again, what they've, quite cleverly done is they've taken the focus of the narrative away from the kind of bigger heroes and attempted to kind of go more granular with the world building and starting to give you more, kind of mortal perspectives, as it were. Because at the start, it was very much, exactly. It's Nagash versus Sigmar. Nagash doesn't like the fact that Sigmar's cheated him of death, and there's a whole kind of thing that goes on there, and that's where the Nighthaunt come from, because basically Nagash has got, right, I've had enough of this now, have some Nighthaunts, that'll serve you right. And then obviously all the other things kind of come from there. And I do like how they developed the Stormcast narrative, although I'm again consistently unhappy with the fact that Stormcast are kind of central to the plot, because as is the thing that I say all the time, I think the problem is with the Stormcast Eternals is they are consistently one of the least interesting parts of Age of Sigmar. But, ultimately Space Marines sell, and at the moment, Stormcast Eternals sell quite well by AOS standards, just because obviously their rules are extraordinarily strong, and a lot of people have come into Fourth and adopted them as a starter army, I feel.
Yeah. Is it, do they sell well because people want them, or is it because they're the models that are on sale because that's what they're trying to push and that's what's in the boxes? It's like Nighthaunt sold well in, what was it? Second Ed, because they were in the starter box. Cruel Boys, I guess, sold well last edition because they were also in the starter box. I mean, maybe not though. Part of me feels like the reason why the Empire in Fantasy felt like it was the main central like protagonist is because it was like the humans that we can all relate to, but it was also, you know, the everyday, you know, folk which set the scene. Trying to tell stories around Space Marines or Stormcast aren't as well as telling the story of the average sort of man of the Imperium or, you know, whatever empire of man might exist. The cities of Sigmar, I guess. And I think we've always said it, like shifting the focus over to cities would probably do a lot better job for their world building, and they do seem to have focused on them quite a bit in the last story leading up to Skaven Tide. And I feel like the Stormcast should be almost like that supernatural element that come down, that's like, you know, more mythical. You know, the moments of hero that come down in humanity's direst of needs, and that's where their place should lie, rather than just being the mainstay of the default, I think.
Yeah, I agree. But hey, look, we are where we are with all of that noise. But yeah, it's just been nice to have a kind of summary of AOS narrative to kind of evolve in, because obviously the size of AOS as well is so small compared to Warhammer 40,000. I mean, my guesstimate would be that for every 100 boxes of Warhammer 40,000, 40k stuff that they sell one AOS thing, I would guess. Like, maybe the ratio isn't quite that brutal. But yeah, to be fair,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Boxes, yeah. But
one other point I was going to make is I've always been meaning to get into, not necessarily even to play it, the either Soulbound or I think there's another version of their Warhammer AOS RPG. Yes. And I think the reason why it'd be really good to get those books, because there was one that was all around Wolfenkhan, which is the cursed city setting, just because it's got loads of interesting lore. And it's like the reason why Warhammer Fantasy had so much rich depth and lore was because of their RPG system, and a lot of the lore was created for that. And likewise, not to the same extent, but there was a lot of work done, especially around Deathwatch and Inquisition with the Dark Heresy stuff for 40k. So a lot of world building has been done on behalf of the game via these RPG systems. So yeah, I sort of feel like I should do it justice and get one of those books, because I think they'd have a bit more crunchy lore and story in them than you would just get from the Codex.
I picked them up for dirt cheap from Sports Direct, bizarrely.
Oh yeah, I remember when I told you guys about that, because it was, yeah, they were like doing 50% off sale or something.
I was crazy. I got like the super duper collector's edition and like one of the expansions, and like it was crazy. Like and I also got like the whole kind of like Dungeon Masters set and all that stuff.
Nice.
I think the entire cost of it was like £4 or something, £5. It was nothing. Like, it was literally nothing. And then I remember being at Warhammer World and Richie being like, oh, look what I've bought. And he like spent like an actual proper amount of money on it. And I was like, should we tell him? No, it's fine. I mean, at the end of the time, he probably couldn't still buy it on Sports Direct. Sports Direct selling, but that, by the way, was a weird quirk of them being part of the Fraser Group or whatever it was, and that had ownership of game. I think.
Yeah, but there was always there's in the actual Sports Direct, there was always like a game sort of section. Game was in the brand.
Been to one of those. They're so weird.
Yeah,
weird.
There's one locally that I think I specifically went out of my way to. Actually, no, I think I was actually buying a sports related thing, but I went in there to be like, oh, do they have any of the Warhammer stuff in there? And I don't think they did. So it was predominantly maybe an online one or for other shops. But yeah, it was a bit mad that they then had a sale on all this stuff.
I worked in a game concession store in Debenhams in my youth, Phil. And that was a kind of similar vibe to the game store being in Sports Direct, except it had like dedicated like area with dedicated staff. It felt mad though, to be fair. Like I remember the first day I turned up to work there because I'd never been to one before. I like transferred to it because I was working in like a regular game store before, and I turned up and I was like, the heck is this? It's mad. But anyway, there you go. Fun times. Yeah, no, but on the AOS front, yeah, I mean, you know, I'm excited to make some progress on stuff for the doubles event that I'm going to with Joe and Richie and Tim in a couple of months' time, so that should be cool. Otherwise, yeah, I don't really have too many like big events on the horizon. I purposely kind of tap the brakes on them to not sort of overexpose myself to them too much. But yeah, so I'm working on Army List at the moment for that. But outside of that, I mean 40k wise, I just sort of, I don't know, I'm just sort of dabbling at the moment. I'm thinking I might end up doing some. Oh, actually, that's a point. I'm definitely going to be doing a stream with Joe and Liam. And maybe you, Phil, by the way. This is a thing that's happening now on, well, we were talking about dates, but we were talking about maybe doing Saturday, August 30th. Basically, Joe wants to put on a stream to send Joe to America for having won a golden ticket at Warhammer World.
Oh, brilliant. Raise some pennies for him.
Exactly.
So does he want people to play him and get smashed at Age of Sigmar?
Well, exactly. He wants to showcase his dominance as the championship AOS player that he is.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably... I mean, if I'm free, I could probably attend. But I think playing a new Nighthaunt Battle Tome, having not played it, isn't the best thing to do live on stream.
I think it's the perfect thing to do live on stream, Phil. And I think
so we can muddle through and show my frustration, and maybe, we'll raise... maybe people donate to Joe every time I swear everyone, maybe. Like, God damn it, this book's awful. It will be, I mean, I do need to get some games in. So obviously the reviews have come out, so I can read all the rules now. It doesn't seem great or that positive from the overall Nighthaunt community. I think mostly because they've just fundamentally changed all the rules for the army in terms of how it plays, which is just feels a bit frustrating, I think, and it feels like a book of mostly negative things rather than, and there are a few positives, but there are a few, I think, is my main issue with it. And as much as we do grumble occasionally on this show, I do like to sort of not doom scroll's the wrong word, but spiral, I guess, in terms of negativity about things. But I'm struggling with this one. I genuinely am. So, but I think I just need to get some games in and see what it's like, basically.
Yeah, that would definitely help you along, my friend. I think, ultimately, it's always the problem when you get these sweeping changes, because obviously you know what you had before and you lament what you have today. But at the same time, you don't quite know yet how or what it feels like to run the army, when it's up and together. That being said, though, there definitely is a debate to be had about the kind of overall kind of efficacy, if you will, of GW kind of releasing indexes that give an impression of an army being something, only to then turn around to you a year later and go, yeah, so about that, it's totally different now. Now, again, I wouldn't want to kind of hinder their creativity when it comes to that stuff. And I think if they've got a good idea, that's great. But I think there is definitely something to be said for the fact that they've just kind of come along and gone, you know how you used to be like a really fast, hard to pin down, like sort of weird, spooky, debuff-based army that did its damage through basically layering attacks and debuffs on top of each other. Now you're just going to be kind of tanky, it seems. And again, obviously, there's some debate over the viability of that strategy in and of itself. So it's an interesting change for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine they have their hands tied to an extent. So it's like because the other criticism they've had is the battle tomes that have come out are basically copies of the indexes, and people are like, well, this is boring. It's no real change. But at the same time, I feel like with this, it's a complete overhaul. And it's like, if you wanted to have done that, you probably should have done that at the beginning of the edition when you were literally writing all these rules from scratch. I sort of feel like what's happened is when Nighthawk came out at the very beginning of the edition, they were very strong because fundamentally, I think it was a combination of they had an ability that allowed them to all army-wide, and this was a sub-faction, army-wide advance and charge, and it meant that you could, if you had Hex Wraith or just, most of the army's fast-moving because it moves 8 or 12 inches, you could just pin your opponent into their deployment zone, and it was very difficult to then have to chew through all of those units, and by that point, the Nighthawk players already outscored you on the objectives. In part, that is, I think, a player learning curve on the opponent because everyone's hardwired to go second because you want to do the double turn, and actually it just allowed Nighthawk to alpha pin them and stick them in their deployment zone. So that was a them problem, not a me problem, I would say. And actually, I think if you let the sort of meta settle for a month or two, the problem would have solved, which it did, because they basically fixed it to be, rather than army-wide, it's just one unit. And then they sort of dropped pretty... I think they had a few points tweaks as well, and that sort of settled it out, and they were sort of fine. But I feel like it was at that point they were writing the codex, and they were like, oh my god, these are a real problem, so we've just got to do a complete rewrite. I can understand also feels bad for the opponent as well, because Nighthawk Ignore Rend, which was on a 4+, is now a 5+ for heroes and a 6+ for everyone else. And basically, when you've got big things like gargants and cannons and things that have like -2, maybe -3 Rend, which is AP for 40k parts, and has huge damage, I'm like, cool, I've just rolled a 4 up and I've ignored it. Whereas most people, you'd maybe making that save on like a 5 or a 6 or not at all. And it's doing a ton of damage, and damage spills over in AOS. So the fact that they can mitigate these big, cool units is very unfun for your opponent. Personally, I liked the simplicity of it. It's like, cool, I'm just rolling 4s, right? I don't have to bother about Rend because trying to calculate that constantly. Like with AOS, like with 40k, sometimes can be a bit tiresome with the maths, especially when you go, well, I'm -2, I've got another debuff for another minus. Oh, but you've all out defense, so you're like +1 to your roll, and then it's like, okay, all right, just get a bit fiddly, just keep it simple. So I like that simplicity of it, but that's obviously, it's sort of, they've kept it tokenistically, but it's technically gone from what it was, and it's probably not as oppressive to your opponent. Is it as good? Who knows? Because obviously things have got a better ward save and a lot of infantry only, so I've gotten better wounds out of it. So it's potentially, the durability has gone up in a different direction.
Fair. Fair. I think, again, it's just going to come down to seeing it, playing it, and figuring it out. But, yeah, it's definitely an interesting time for those guys. Moving it on slightly as well, though, I also saw that they, keeping it Age of Sigmar, they've also announced the Spearhead magazine now as well, which, despite the fact that Rob the Honest Wargamer seems to consistently state his overall displeasure or lack of enthusiasm, I suppose, for Spearhead. I have played quite a bit of Spearhead, and I think it's actually really good. And I know, it sounds a bit kind of contrived, or maybe a little bit kind of over the top to say it's great, but I actually think it's pretty good. Like, if you want to get into AOS, it's way better than Combat Patrol. Like, Combat Patrol for 40k is a bit messy, whereas Spearhead for Age of Sigmar, genuinely really good fun. So yeah, the fact that we're now, getting the Spearhead mag that will facilitate your ability to play, Fire and Jade, and by the end of the print run, also Sand and Bone. It's pretty cool, because Sand and Bone as well is actually a really fun expansion to the Spearhead format. So yeah, it's the coolest thing. So nice to see the old mags turn up again. You'll be able to pick those up in Forbidden Planets on the cheap, probably. So if you're looking to get hold of any cheap minis, there's a whole slew of new things going into Forbidden Planet stores near you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably a good few months away, because I think what they're doing at the moment is their sort of trial run, which is like in a limited area, just to see how successful it's going to be, which it normally is, because they've always been a success. It probably means it's not, like a few months away from being on general release. And yeah, Hachette Partworks is the company that produces them, so you can buy them direct from there, get them in your, in the UK, in places like Smith's. In shops normally for the first few issues. The first issue is normally $2.99, so it's normally a bargain, whatever it is, and then it's normally $8.99, I think, afterwards. And yeah, places like Forbidden Planet do it at discount slightly, so you can normally get it a bit cheaper online from there. So you don't need to go to a Forbidden Planet store, which is quite handy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But anyway, so that's coming along. But yeah, otherwise, mate, I reckon that'll probably do for now. We can move on to the 5-star review, I reckon. What do you think?
Ooh, go on.
Good times. Transitional noise. All right, it's the end of the podcast, which means we're going to do our 5-star review, which we've said at the start is given to us on Apple Podcasts for Great Britain. We do well, Phil, in the Britons, as I love to say. So we continue to use Apple Podcasts for Great Britain because other people aren't leaving us 5-star reviews anywhere else. So if you want to be cool, do that and tell us, and we'll seek it out. Please educate us on where you're leaving these reviews, because, they're all greatly appreciated. But on this occasion, Apple Podcasts of Great Britain via GreatSage Equal of Heaven. I mean, I don't know necessarily what the significance of that particular title is, but it does sound fancy. The GreatSage, that is presumably the equal of heaven. Good times, I would suggest.
Sounds so. Yeah.
Absolutely. And there we go. Anyway, yes, so if you would like to be like the GreatSage, who is equal to heaven, please consider or do give us a 5-star review in anywhere where 5-star reviews can be left. It's obviously massively appreciated and enables us to continue doing this glorious pod to a level of somewhat success. It will be a sad and loathsome day when there are no 5-star reviews to read. We will shed many a tear, won't we, Phil?
Exactly. The podcast will end. Our friendship will come to an end. It'll be dreadful. So keep the team alive, everyone.
Absolutely. I will definitely shed many a tear on that occasion. Tears of joy. Ha! No, not really. Not really. Anyway, so this 5-star review says, the best Warhammer podcast by far. My goodness, that is some high accolades for sure. Listening to Dan and Phil talking passionately about a hobby that we share helps stave off the loneliness I feel when staring into the soulless dead eyes of plastic friends. The best Warhammer pod by far. Long may it continue. Thank you, lads. Well, I mean, that is wonderful of you to say. GreatSage equal to heaven. Obviously, it means the world to us to hear you say that. And again, obviously, thank you for bestowing us with such incredible levels of praise. I mean, obviously, to call us the best Warhammer pod ever is quite a bold claim, but certainly not one that we won't acknowledge or lean into. So cheers very much for that. Means the world, and really hoping that you're continuing to enjoy what we're doing. But yeah, to elaborate on that more can only be Phil.
Well, thank you, GreatSage. I will take that title. I will take the trophy We will get it printed on T-shirts, and we will brag about it at the start of every single episode from now forwards, that we are the best Warhammer podcast out there. Not just happens to be the only one you probably listen to, but no, we are the best out there out of all of them, and we will go to town in a street fight to prove it with any other podcast that wants to go toe-to-toe with us for those bragging rights. Thank you very much. I see some hesitation in Dan, but, he's gym fit now, so he can do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd rather not, have fights with other podcast content creators. But, I fancy our chances amongst the selection of Warhammer content creators. I won't list the ones that I reckon I could probably win against. But, I think odds are I'd do better against most. That's fine. Not that I would want to, though. Obviously, it's all love in the Warhammer community, and to be honest with you, I'm certainly not seeking to brag about my physical prowess. It's based more on the quality of competition necessarily than my own personal ability. Okay, that's probably a very rude thing to say, but anyway, we've said it now, so let that roll. Brilliant. All right, fantastic. Well, look, thank you, everybody. Thank you especially to the GreatSage, equal of heaven. It's been a pleasure bringing you episode 215 of the Lookouts podcast. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. And if you have enjoyed it, please consider, liking, subscribing, giving us a 5-star review, leaving comments, all that good stuff. It really helps us out in more ways than you can imagine. And again, massive thank you to the patrons, who are all incredible human beings who support us and enable us to live our dreams as modest, content creators with a very small niche following. You'll miss us when we're gone, but we're leaving for now. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.